Good morning. Well, good morning to the no people currently watching, but to everybody watching this later, good day. All right, let's get stuck in then. I'm going to do some more side images. No, I don't want to save. No. It's going to take forever to load, but it is what it is. Yep, keep earbutting the microphone because I'm wearing headphones today. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bam. The world's fastest loading. It's literally just loading a character in. I think I need to optimize my library a little bit more. Maybe get rid of some of the crap I don't use. Or at least migrate it to somewhere else and then just like not have it in. That might be the way ahead because this loading time. And the irony is now it's getting to the stage where my loading times are almost longer than my friggin' render times. Hooray, it's finally started doing something. And quick as a flash. Bugger all. Come on. Welcome, welcome to those of you just joining, or should I say hello, mate? Yeah, that's my thing. Could be cringe. Could make it more cringe. I could be doing this weird like thing that GB does. Just to be clear, I'm not starting a fight with GB. I actually quite enjoy her content. It's not as good as it used to be. She's like more about making the money now than she used to be, but it's still, you know, pleasant enough. It's good enough to fall asleep to. That's the main thing. Same thing can't be said about my content. Let's be honest. If you're falling asleep to my content, there's a problem. Unless you're watching one of my relaxation videos. Although I don't do those anymore because people complained. Well, it wasn't even that they were complaining. It's just that people weren't watching it. My analytics went through the crapper because I was uploading videos that like 3 people were watching. Oh well. Won't be doing that again. Not on this channel anyway. Right, now she's loaded. Let's give her a new expression. Expression. Nope, that's not an expression. There we go. Poses, expressions. What have I done? I've already done angry and happy. Let's find a sad expression. A real sad expression. Not like crying sad, but you know, sad. If your music's too loud, just let me know. I have no idea whether it's loud or not. I can't hear. I hear it playing real time. I don't hear it through the stream. Do sad Genesis 8 female. She'll do. Probably look like really weird. For those of you who don't know, like different faces have different geometry, which means the weight maps are different. Which means expressions affect different faces in a different way. Some expressions that look great on one model look like absolute horse crap on another one. So this one, she looks like she's doing something, but she doesn't look sad. Doesn't look sad at all. So let's undo that. And we'll try maybe this one. This one might work. You just don't know. You just don't know. Oh, for goodness sake. There we go. Right, that's that done. That's reset. Try again. See what we get now. That looks better. It does look better. Let's just, her eyes aren't actually looking at the camera right now, and we need to do a rotate and then an unrotate. So if we go like there, her eyes should snap to looking at the camera again, unless I haven't set them to. No, I haven't set them to. All right, not a problem. Nicht ein Probleme. No, it is pointed at camera too. Why does it look like it's not? Unless I'm cross-eyed, maybe that's the problem. All right, let's bang that back to 0 then. Right, render settings, general 375 I need. Bosh. This won't take long. It's really good. That's not, why is it, oh, it's trying to save an image series still. Still image. Okay, try that again. Hey, now we're talking. Welcome to those of you who are just joining. Hello, mate. Hope you're all doing good this morning. Feel free to chip in. Let me know what you're doing today. If you're having a good day, if you're just chilling. Hey, OG44, how you doing, man? Yeah, nice and chill Sunday. You doing anything exciting with your day, or are you just putting your feet up? Fair play, man. Fair play. So I'm doing like I undo rather than applying a new. Yeah, I undo my actions prior to putting the expression on the character rather than just applying a new expression, because you can't always guarantee that the people who make the expression add information for every bone in the face, which means you might get some really like you might end up with your character looking like Jim Carrey. You know, you had a smile on top of a frown, and you end up with like a, and it's ridiculous. So it's better to check and just avoid that happening, because it wastes a lot of time. Right, I can switch her to unselect now. Back to Smart content and add some more expressions, poses, expressions. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. What have we got? I've done sad, I've done happy, done angry. Suppose I could do a laugh, couldn't I? See if this works. You know, like happy and then really happy. Could even do sexy expressions, although that's not really what I'm going for with this character. Does she look like she's laughing? It could look worse, to be fair. That's not the worst I've ever seen a facial expression. Let's do it. Let's just screw it. Render it. If you are following along with the Let's Code season, this is how quick you can just bang out these side images. Like, this will be done in 2 minutes. Probably less. Just goes, there's your image. And here it comes, doing all of its blah 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 blah, and rip straight through. 500 iterations or so done. I feel like there is some kind of post-denoise action happening here, which makes me upset. Let's go to my render settings. Progressive rendering should be turned on. Max samples should be ranked up to, like, I'm gonna say 2000. Come on, let me change it. Yeah, let's not bother with the rendering quality. Let's just leave the iterations on 2000. Turn off post-denoiser. Right, let's see what happens if I render it now. Thought something was fishy. It was only going to 500 iterations. To be fair, 500 iterations didn't look too bad, but the post-denoiser was pretty bad. But this is fine, because I can just replace the old images. I haven't done enough to be worried about it. Right, let's see how quickly it takes to do 2000 iterations and what the output quality of the image is like. Come on, mother bitch. Right, that's not too bad. Is it going to be relatively noise free by 2000 iterations? Let's find out. Let's have a looky. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And it doesn't look like it's been denoised. So that's cool. So we can go to undo. Oh, for feck's sake. Gonna have to redo all of that shiz. Undo max samples, undo rendering quality, undo load that. Hey Felstern, how you doing? Felsenstern, sorry. Sorry, apologies. Right, this. Post-denoiser available is off. Progressive rendering stays off, but the number of iterations, I'm gonna go with like 3000 just because I want to make sure that it looks mint before I output it. Cool, right, so we've done a laugh. Let's go back to the sad expression I had before. If I can remember where the heck it was. It was down, 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 down. Ah, there we are. And it was one of the closed mouth ones. Yeah, I'm good, man. Just chilling. Sunday morning. Got just doing some side images to go alongside with the Let's Code season. There's only about, realistically, about 4 more episodes of the Let's Code season left now. Okay, that could be sad. And the thing is, our eyes are closed, but does that matter? Not particularly. Yeah, once I'm done with the live stream, I'll probably play Minecraft for a little while and then go out and about, come back in the afternoon and play the guitar or something. I haven't played my guitar in about like 15 years. Rusty as hell. The guitar isn't I am. And so I'm probably going to practice that for a little while. Try and get the calluses back on the end of my fingers. Get ready for work tomorrow. Right, let's see how long. 3,000 iterations. 3, 2, 1, go. And if 3,000 iterations is going to be enough. I assume the music's not too loud, because no one's commented to tell me otherwise. Please do if it is too loud though, or if it's not loud enough. Oh, that looks much better. Much better. No posty noiser and no noise. Yes, I do. Undo. Right, let's redo happy and angry. This is what happens when you mess around with I was doing animated side images for my own game. Obviously doing animations, I turn on the posty noiser for doing animation or for doing image series and forgot to turn it off. So I'm now redoing the images that I did. Right, so we want happy. This one looks interesting. Let's give that a go. Does she look happy or does she look mildly confused? No, she looks quite menacing there. I'll be honest. Let's undo that. So I've been noticing there's been, not that you guys really care, but I've been noticing that there's been a dramatic reduction in my ad revenue over the last month. And it's weird, but I think I know what the cause is. It's because I don't monetize my live streams, i.e. the no ads run on it that I'm aware of. I think that's causing the average income per video to come down, which is causing my cost per 1,000 clicks or whatever the hell that number is. I am not a YouTube expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just talking for the sake of talking while I'm trying to find a good expression. So yeah, I've sort of noticed that not monetizing the live streams. This is just not to be clear. I'm not planning on starting doing that because don't really see any mileage in it. I'm not like the likes of Hughes, who gets literally hundreds of thousands of people watching his live streams throwing money at him. That's crazy. No wonder the guy's worth so much money. It's insane. If only we could all have such a magnetic personality, eh? Well, how hard is it to find a friggin' happy expression? Let's try. I'm not feeling that expression. I'm not feeling it. Got this one. Have a look how this one looks. Well, in my own games, probably in the Let's Code season, I'm more demonstrating what can be done. If you've been watching the Jesus Christ, that's scary. In the Let's Code season, if you've been following along, you'll see that the navigation system is trying to think of the best way of wording it. You can have whatever, your locations can be whatever they want to be. You can have your location being a building, you can have your location being a room, you can have your location being an object in the room that you're looking at intently. How you choose to navigate between those is really up to you, because you create the map screen and then you put the icons on it. Now you can choose to navigate using that map, and you can have that map being a city map and then have buildings on it, and then you can have sub locations where if you use the big map to travel to a building, and then inside that building that you can click on the doors and allow you to navigate through the building. Literally the framework is there in the game engine. It's how you choose to utilize it is entirely up to you. Which is one of the reasons why I'm really sort of like pumped for doing this Let's Code season, because people ask me all the time how to do this, and blah, 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 blah. And literally this Let's Code season covers such a vast number of those. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, you know, it's a case of... I mean, Let's Code 3, I've basically streamlined it down so that it's the framework is there. In terms of the city from a 3D point of view, you mean like rendering an entire city from above and navigating around it like that? Is that what you mean? Ah, she looks happy enough in that one. At least she doesn't look like she's about to murder someone. Go with that. Time for some green tea. No, I'm not a hippie. Green tea is just the easiest to make. Doesn't need sugar or milk. I don't tend to. If I'm going to do something like that with where you've seen me build locations in other live streams and stuff, where I just pick assets out. I can even make my own. I was actually thinking about doing some of that in this video, in this live stream, just playing around with Blender. So this is Mum Happy-ish. Save that. And now we're looking for angry. We wouldn't like her when she's angry. It's probably, well, I mean, yeah, get it. If you can afford it, get it. Not only is it great for dads, but it's also going to make gaming a lot more fun as well, and things like that. Like 3090 RTX is basically like top dog at the moment. I'm only on a 3080. She actually looks legitimately, that looks like a real facial expression, that one. You know what I mean? When you get these expressions that are sort of like in the preview images that are 50 pixels by 50 pixels, they look great. But when you actually apply them to the Genesis 8 character, you look at them and you think, Jesus. Not one to imply that the content creators are mugging people off, but she does look pissed, doesn't she? Maybe the most realistic facial expression in the game, and it's the one you're probably going to hopefully see the least. So I did approach Shaylin, aka Sickle Yield, about doing some sort of like interview type, collaboration type interview with her, where we're just going to ask her loads of questions about how it is, basically about being a published artist. She's been doing Daz Studio a lot longer than I have. Arguably, she's a lot more skilled at doing it. So I was just gonna, approached her about maybe doing something together in terms of just to give you guys more of an insight into if you did want to become a published artist or any of the more advanced topics, because I tend to stick to beginner level stuff because that's where I think the need is the greatest. But she does a lot more advanced stuff, like she works with JCMs. She does a lot of 3D modeling. She does a lot of work with like what's it called? That thing that people make clothes out of. Anyway, she does a lot more of that sort of thing. I think she's a bit nervous about being the first person on the channel to do it because she's not really sure about what kind of questions and things I'm going to ask her. So, still kind of working on that one, but hopefully be including. I already talked in the last live stream about having some people from sort of models and producers from like the adult side of things. I'm still talking to some people about doing that. The problem is a lot of them want paying, which I can't really afford. But so I'm looking to start including some collaborations with people whose work I admire, and Sickle Yield is one of them. Like I know that people generally think that all I do is badmouth content creators, but that's not the case. There are several content creators whose work I genuinely do appreciate and admire. So trying to get some collaborations going with those people. Yeah, she helped me. She taught me how to turn a Genesis 3 model into a Genesis 8 model and all that sort of thing. Like, it was her channel where I figured out how to do that, and it kind of set me on the path in working a lot with the transfer utility and things like that. As we all know from one of my recent videos, the transfer utility is incredibly hit and miss. I managed to get a fully working character with a little bit of tweaking from an HD model that I created. Whereas the significant majority of people, or certainly the people commenting on the video, have been having a lot of trouble doing it. And it's just because the transfer utility is really hit and miss. It's just a case of luck. You could do it 3 times and get different results every single time, even if you're using exactly the same models and settings. Apologies for the slurping noise, by the way. I don't mind drum and bass, but I'm not sure it's the right atmos for a Sunday morning. Let us go and see what we can find. Celebrate Black Music Month. Sunny Grooves. It's gotta be good. It's summertime. It's ironically not that sunny outside here too. I think it's raining outside actually. But it's been ridiculously hot for the last 2 weeks. Like insanely. Yeah, so are you in AMC or GME? I know off the beaten path, but if you have some liquidity, my way of giving back to you. Love the videos. I am not on either of those. Honestly, like it's funny, no one's ever really sort of talked about this live to me before. Oh yeah, like my channel is monetized and I have a Patreon, and I am incredibly grateful for everybody who makes financial contributions towards me. But that's not the reason that I do what I do. I'm just glad to know that my, little old me, my incessant ramblings is in some way helping other people, really, because I know how painful this process can be if learning it, because I've been through it the same as everybody else. It's the same with anything. It's the same with coding. I remember when I first started coding, the first language I learned to code in was BASIC, but going from BASIC to Pascal, which is the second language that I learned when I was at college, was a huge learning curve, because all of a sudden you weren't putting numbers in front of every line. You weren't going 10, 20, 30 and all that sort of thing. But you were ending every line with a semicolon and things like that, which I found to be quite hard to adjust to, because it's, you know, it's an entirely different syntax, even if a lot of the keywords are the same. And then I went from Pascal to COBOL, I went from COBOL to C++, I went from C++ to C#, C# to Python. I couldn't write a C# or a C++ program now without heavily relying on like LinkedIn Learning or YouTube tutorials, just because I'm that rusty. You kind of learn to speak the language and then you forget half of it, you know. It's like I can speak French. Couldn't put together much of a phrase now, like other than the usual ones that everyone can remember, like "Où est la gare?" Z80 assembly. Oh, assembly language is funny because it's great if you can learn it, isn't it? Because you go, rather than using the interpreter language where you're almost writing in English what you want the computer to do, you're really having to think laterally about how you're going to go about telling the computer to do something. You load the accumulator with a value, then you move the value to another part of memory and all that sort of thing. So it's like such a different way of working, but I think it's advantageous if you can learn it, definitely, because it helps you understand how a computer thinks. And if you understand how a computer thinks, coding it in an interpreter language is so much easier, because you suddenly realize, oh right, I see, oh, it's a stock thing, is it? I honestly haven't really looked into it, but thanks very much for the tip. Any kind of code you do, though, is a helpful. It helps you understand, even with something like working with DAZ Studio. If you understand how a computer thinks, it does make figuring things out a little bit simpler, because you realize that a computer doesn't make mistakes. A computer does what it's told to do. Even random number generators aren't truly random. They're just a sequence of numbers that might be really, really long based on a number that you put into it. Sooner or later, it will come back round. Yeah. So anytime you're sat there at your computer and DAZ Studio isn't doing what you want it to, there's only two possible culprits: either you or the dickhead who wrote the software. That's not to say that I think DAZ Productions are dickheads. It's just, you know, it's an expression. Yeah, definitely. Right, I'm gonna have to put my spectacles on. I forgot I wasn't wearing them. I don't need them for everything. It's just when I'm using a computer for a long period of time, it gives me headaches because I'm very slightly long-sighted in one eye. Not enough to need glasses all the time, but long enough that if I stare at a screen for 2 hours, it starts making my brain hurt. Right, what was I doing? Side images. Do I need any more? I've got happy, sad, neutral, angry. Let's do a flirty one or a sexy one or something like a cheeky one. The beauty of doing this with RemPie is you can literally go for, you could have 50 odd side images if you wanted to. Good morning, Aracor. How the devil are you? Or should I say, hello, mate? Do a cheeky smile. Cheeky smile. This could look crap. Like I said, these expressions were not made for this character. That's not too bad, actually, to be fair. Kinda. The mouth looks a bit weird. The eyes look good. The mouth looks a bit odd. But on a small, tiny little image. No, I give away my stuff, really. I don't do that much. I create my own content in Blender for like my scenes and stuff. Honestly, the whole thought of becoming a published artist on the Dash Studio store, for example, I'm not opposed to the idea, but you have to jump through so many hoops. And given my track record of things that I've said about Daz Productions in the past, I would imagine that I would probably not get accepted, just by virtue of the fact that sometimes I'm slightly outspoken about their mistakes. Yeah. Grapple with the worst optimized piece of 3D software, there I go again, in the world. Actually, that looks shit, doesn't it? Let's stop that. Not loving that. It's not making me feel good. Let's undo that smile. See what other expressions we can find. See, there's some concepts that people will just, that are really, really so mind-numbingly simple that people just don't think of them. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, no arguments from me, Aracor. For example, someone asked me once, this is a long time ago, how they would go about making side images if the character has a change of appearance, like change of hair. And someone started chipping in the comments going, oh, blah, 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 do this with layered images and all that sort of thing. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. If you've got a character who's got 2 appearances, for example, just define the character twice and have 2 sets of side images. Makes life so much simpler. The amount of time that I would faff around making the hair a separate object from the head and then superimposing it onto the head in RemPie. It's easier just to do 2 friggin' side images. It takes, well, you've seen, literally seconds. Let's go with a serious expression. Serious. RemPie has a lot of functionality in it that is great. But a lot of it is like, if I was going to create a massive VN that has hours and hours and hours and possible permutations, then maybe going into the extra detail or the extra effort of separating the character's hair from their face might be worth it. But it's just most of the time I don't see a good case for doing it. Does she look serious in that? I don't know. Is that a serious expression? The whole like reason behind using object-oriented programming is to avoid unnecessary work. It's to minimize the amount of pointless work that you do. Shocked and yeah, it didn't really look that serious, did it? That's the thing. Shock, that's a good one. Let's do a shocked expression. Oh, well, that's certainly shocked. I would say that's probably a bit OTT, but pretty ham acting, isn't it? And it's making her eyelids do weird shit. Like her eyes are so wide open that her eyelashes are poking through that bit. You know what I mean? Let's just undo that because that don't work. Let's try this one. This might be slightly less bizarre. Already looks a bit better. Still quite over the top, but at least her eyelashes are now no longer poking through her flesh like they're made out of fucking adamantium. That'll work. Let's just render that out. Yeah, it is a bit. It is a bit. Does look like she's dislocated her jaw a little bit, doesn't it? I might redo it and just close the mouth a smidge. Let's do it. Cancel the render. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Oh, there's so many morphs. Pose control, that's what we're after. Head. Head, 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 head. Why can't I see head? There it is. Mouth. There we go, mouth. Mouth open. Just go down to about 50%. It's better. That looks more realistic. Let's render it out. I don't tend to bother doing that anymore. I used to do it all the time where when I had like a particularly not great GPU, I would set a render off before I went to bed and just kind of hope that it turned out alright. But now that I've got the 3080, I tend to just do something else on my computer whilst I'm rendering so that I can keep an eye on it. Because I very rarely let a render go all the way through to completion. because normally it's done. What's going on with this music? What am I playing here? What am I playing? Sunny Grooves. Well, I suppose it's sunny-ish. Female rock, let's have a listen to that. Right, now we can set this to shock. Save. Sorry, I just realised my head is like... And I'm headbutting the mic still. Silly Billy. Right, we've done shock, angry, happy, sad, laugh. Do I need any more expressions? Really? This is only for the Let's Code season, so it's not like I'm going to use them all anyway. It's just for the sake of having them. I mean, you guys, by this point, you've seen my workflow, so you know that I tend not to... I concentrate on quality rather than volume. That isn't to say you can't do both, just to be clear. I'm not saying that people who bang out like 20 renders a day aren't doing a good job, but I tend to focus more on doing the post and all that sort of thing. No idea. The music that I play now after my first live stream, where I went on the No Copyright Sounds album on Spotify, and then was subsequently copy strike, like literally 30 copy strikes from a bad faith copyright. You know, those people who claim copyright content that's not actually theirs. But to avoid having to do that again, I now use the company that I pay for the rights to use their music on my videos. I now use that on the live streams as well. I've said it a million times, I'll say it a million times again. Post-production is an absolute must. If you take the quality of your images seriously, post is a must. I've done a few tutorials, sort of showing little tricks and stuff. I do want to do a series of Photoshop videos, but the general... I want to create videos that people are going to watch, and generally speaking, if I do a post-production video, so few people actually watch them that it almost makes it not worth the time to do. Like, to be fair, the number of people, the amount of uptake I've had on this Let's Code season has been considerably better than usual. Usually it's like the two seasons previously usually didn't have. But generally speaking, the majority of people come to see the Daz Studio content, but there's only so much you can really do for Daz Studio before you're just replicating. I could update my old videos, to be fair. Friggin' ASMR channels do it all the time. You get what's like 50 times. If you watch an ASMR video every night, the chance of you having a cranial nerve exam every week is very high. Hello, Jordan. How you doing? Hello, mate. Oh dear. Yeah, I actually approached Daz Productions not too long ago, saying to them, not for any particular reason other than just to say, look, I'm making. Or I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to see you here. Yeah, just to sort of say, look, I'm creating all of this content and promoting your product. If you've got any kind of like upcoming features or anything like that that I need to be aware of. Yeah, I think the community is. I mean, if you look at, for example, the Dad Studio YouTube channel, there's 56,000 followers, 56,000 subscribers. Presumably, I presume, and I am making a big assumption here, that the majority of people, when they start using Dash Studio, because it's so poorly documented, one of the first places that people will go is to the Dash Studio channel itself. Then they'll realise that the content they have is cack, and then they'll go out looking for other people, and that's where 20% of those people have found me. But realistically, my potential audience is only 50 odd thousand people, so I mean that number might continue to grow, but there are people who have been doing this a lot longer than I have that have been less successful. So I don't know what it is about my channel that has drawn so many people in. I think the only other channel that I'm aware of that's got the same following is maybe WP Guru. Yeah, and that's the reason why I don't promote third-party content, Fellerstern, because I don't want to become contractually obligated to say nice things about a product that I don't believe in. Like I was saying before about getting Sickle Yield, wanting to get Sickle Yield on to do like a chat, is because I like her content and I respect her methodology. She doesn't create 3-hour-long video tutorials that she sells for $50, which only actually tell you 2 things that could have been talked about in a 10-minute video, like some creators do. Well, I nearly succumbed to the same problem, Miracle, because I started doing gaming content and relaxation content and stuff like that, but very quickly spotted that it was actually having a negative impact on my analytics. Hardly anyone was watching the videos, and people were clicking the notification bell because they got fed up with seeing gaming content come up 5 days a week, which means that it was directly impacting my actual audience. You know, people weren't watching the content they wanted to watch because they were fed up. They were trying to avoid the content they didn't want to watch, which is just. I don't know if toxic seems like an. If you're asking questions for a good reason, then I don't think it's toxic. I think there are people out there who just ask rhetorical questions because they're trying to get a fight, and I've gotten to the stage now where I'm quite used to that, and I tend to be able to spot it. Like if someone comes on my channel just being negative for the sake of being negative, I just won't respond because there's nothing to be gained from it. Occasionally I will admit, 1 or 2 occasions I have clapped back at people, but the majority of the time I'll just ignore them. And if they're being ridiculously negative, I will just hide them from the channel, which is a cool function that YouTube has introduced where you can effectively block someone without them knowing they've been blocked. Yeah, I've got side channels. I've got one for my photography and I've got one for my gaming. But because the majority of my time is dedicated on doing DAS stuff and Ren'Py stuff, I don't upload videos to those channels very often. Don't get me wrong, I play games every day, I would say, for at least an hour. At some point I find myself with a few minutes to kill, so I'll play Minecraft or whatever. And there's no reason why I couldn't record that and upload it to my gaming channel. But again, I don't think of myself as being a particularly... I don't want to say engaging, but I'm not one of those people who's going to sit there and being all hyperactive and loud for the sake of being loud. That's not to say that gaming channels generally are. Like PewDiePie, for example, he started off as a gamer and then went on to do more variety stuff. But people go to his channel because they like him, not because they like his content. That's the main reason I go to watch his videos. But I don't think I'm that kind of person. I think people come to me because they want the information that I can provide, and that's fine. That's totally cool. So yeah, my point being is that's the reason why I don't really do a lot of gaming content on my gaming channel now, is because I don't really see that imagine there's going to be a lot of people who want to watch me play Minecraft. Some people do, yeah. Again, I think a lot of that is... It's like simply... You know the term simp, which is apparently really bad to say on YouTube now, but not referring to simps for people who simp over women, but there are people who... Fanboys is a better way of putting it, who get so invested in using a piece of software that they won't hear anything bad said about it. It's completely irrational. Like I use Dash Studio on a daily basis, but I'm very aware of how flawed a piece of software it is. I've got a really good computer and it still takes me 10 minutes to load a character into the scene. That is not right. There's something wrong there, you know. Dash Studio could be much better optimized. So you'll never hear me say anything unnecessarily positive about Dash Studio unless I actually believe it. And it is good for what it is. It's a free piece of software. I haven't watched much of IT Roy's content. He used to be a patron of mine. He used to support me on Patreon, for which I'm very grateful. But I just don't have the time to watch much other people's content anymore. Because the majority of the time I'm either creating my own content, or I'm working on my own games, or I'm doing one of my many other jobs and hobbies. So I don't really have an opinion on IT Roy's channel. I certainly wouldn't know what he said. I presume he said something you disagreed with. Yeah, it's a funny old thing. Oh, I see. I mean, I can't really say anything then, because based on the fact they used to be a patron, I assume, and just to be clear, I'm not saying this is a fact, this is an assumption I'm making. A lot of the information that he's got is probably stuff he's picked up from me over the years, over the 3 years. But I see it as a... Different people learn different ways. I teach one way. And if people don't learn from me, and they can learn from somebody else, then that's great. As long as people are learning, I'm happy. Because I want to see the Dash Studio community grow. I want to see the RenPie community continue to grow. Because they're both really useful tools for creating interesting stuff, interesting games. And they don't all have to be AVNs or VNs that are just sitting and clicking through. Question on the websites. I wouldn't venture to promote websites on the live stream. There's plenty of websites out there. To be honest, though, the one thing I will say for the Dash Studio Marketplace is that quality control is quite strict. It is what it is, mate. Don't worry about it. It's no, cool. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Jordan's right. Dash Studio was never meant to be and it isn't a 3D designing tool. The fact that I use it for that purpose a lot of the time is just me. It really is just it's a render engine. You're not supposed to do all of this advanced stuff. You're supposed to just load the characters in, load the scenes in, pose them, render. All of the additional stuff that's come with the IRA engine and the fact that animations have now been shoehorned in there is all, you know. But I mean, DAZ Studio will never be great animation software. Not really. It's always 4 steps behind the really powerful tools like Blender, Maya. I don't think there's any bad eggs among the DAZ Studio YouTube community. I think they're all pretty good. Oh, I see. So Socrates said, people who are wise in one topic think they're wise in every topic. I'm wise because I know I'm not wise. That's a quote, not me saying that. Tricky one. It's tricky because they've invested a lot of time and energy into DAZ 4. And we are only in DAZ 4.15, so there's a whole lot of decimal places available between now and 5. If it were me, bear in mind that the majority, in fact all the money they make is from the DAZ Studio Marketplace. They make no money at all from the software. So they could realistically stop updating DAZ 4 and do a rewrite, and it wouldn't really hurt them financially, except for that they would have to put a lot of hours in order to recreate the software. The thing is, that's the point though, isn't it? Is that people are buying the assets regardless of the limitations of the software. But I fully agree with you. I think DAZ Studio has got a lot of really serious issues that they keep sort of glossing over by adding new functionality like filament. Filament does nothing. It's just a way of previewing what your scene's going to look like when it's rendered out in Iray, but it already has an Iray preview mode. Well, yeah, I see where you're coming from. It depends on your personality as well, doesn't it? If you're the kind of person who tends to speak out when you tend to call out people. But you would never use filament to do an actual render. That's the point I'm making, is that like I'm using Iray preview mode and I'm seeing exactly what I'm going to get in my render. Like I don't doubt that there are uses for filament, but I don't have a use for it. All I see is an irritation. It's just another piece of unnecessary functionality and software that they could be working on other things. Yeah, as I was saying, it depends on your personality as well. If you're the kind of person who tends to speak up or call out BS when you see it, then yeah, maybe unsubscribing is the right thing to do. I'd like to think I try and be a little bit more balanced. If I see someone say one thing wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean everything they say is going to be wrong. Like so, I don't really, my relationship with IT Roy is he was a patron and now he creates his own content. I don't have an opinion on him or his content because I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't possibly know what the level of his content is. Well, you remember when they tried to, they started pushing Octane. I think they didn't push it for very long because they realised that it was a massive pain in the ass because you had to, not unlike Filament, but in Octane you had to re-import all of your textures, so by the time you'd done that, you doubled the render time because the prep time was so long. It's a bit like using Keyshot, using Luxian Keyshot. The renders might be great, they might be amazing, but the amount of time it takes to set the friggin' things up, it's just not worth it. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. I think we all have to accept that at some point down the line, maybe it's going to be a year, maybe it's going to be 10 years, or if we're still doing this in 10 years, at some point we will be, if we are still using Dash Studio, it won't be an iRay model, it'll be using something else. Or some other tool will come along that will allow compatibility with Genesis models, but use a different render engine. You could argue that about every bridge they do, couldn't you? None of the bridges are seamless. There's always little quirks. For example, if you're creating a morph, if you are not a published artist and you don't have the HD morph tool, then if you're using ZBrush to create a morph, you have to do it in base resolution. So why even ask if you want to do it in base resolution? Just send it over in base resolution. It wouldn't be that difficult to code it in so that the software recognizes if you're using the HD morph tool or not. If you know, because it would just say, is that present in this person's content library? No. In that case, just export it in base resolution. It seems like a really silly niggle, but it's just one of the oversights, one of the many oversights in the way that DAZ is designed that could be better refined to improve the user's quality of life. Back in a mo. dokie. Apologies. Neighbour needed something heavy moving, and I'm a gentleman. Oh dear. Yes, she does. Yeah, I agree. HD Morphs is a very... Thank you. HD Morphs is... The only reason that HD Morphs are still something that people want is because the simplicity... editing a normal map is a bit... Unless you can do it on the actual 3D model. Editing it as a 2D image would be a bit of a pain in the bum to figure out where things exactly need to be. Same with displacement maps. But the I don't play around with a layered image editor. For all I know, it may very well be a lot easier to do now than it once was. But for example, in ZBrush and Blender, you have the ability to paint the substances on the model as is, so you can see where you're putting stuff. So if I were going to do it, I would probably go over to ZBrush and do it in there, and then export the normal map that way. But yeah, you're right, it is a marketing feature, but it's a very successful marketing feature. Like, the amount of income that they earn just by selling HD variants of their characters and HD morphs for their characters. Oops, a daisy. Nearly saw Denise Mally's bum then. I think there's a lot to be said for the DAS Studio, the DAS Productions business model. I think they've done exactly what is necessary. Because the software is so flawed, no one in their right minds would pay a lot of money for this piece of software. You know, like AutoCAD, for example. To use a license for AutoCAD for 1 year is like $1,200. $1,200 for 1 year. You'd never get anyone to pay that amount of money for DAS Studio, because Blender's free for one thing. And Blender can do a lot of the stuff that DAS Studio can. And it has a whole load of other functionality. DAS is just very simple. It does exactly what it's meant to do. The bare minimum. This is all just my opinions anyway. I'm not stating these things as they're fact. It's just my thoughts and feelings on the matter. The quality of this album isn't great, is it? Do. It would be so easy for Blender to just wipe DAS off the planet. It would. Because Blender have already got the infrastructure in place. They've already got a buttload of websites that they use. They've probably got a bunch of like eShop infrastructure already there. If only that kind of corporate synergy were a realistic thing in this world, like that would be amazing. But yeah, I mean, Blender have already got a significant amount of functionality, and the amount of tutorials online for it is absurd. So many. If they were to introduce, like you say, a pose library and have the ability to buy and sell costume pieces for custom characters, that snap to the character the way that they do in Dash Studio. That would basically put Dash Productions out of business overnight. Yeah, precisely, yeah. The irony, of course, is that Daz is actually harder to use than a lot of the full fat pieces of software. But I don't think Blender would. I don't think the Blender Foundation would be willing to have that kind of arrangement with. Because what that basically is saying is, we don't want to do any of the hard work. We just want to sell the content. You do all the hard work for us for free, and we'll take all the profits. And even the Blender Foundation, which is, you know, whose business model is very different, I don't think they would be willing to take on that burden, because especially when they could just incorporate the functionality in their own software. And you got to remember, even if Dash Studio were to go out of business, the software still exists. The assets are staying on your hard drive. They're not just going to disappear overnight. It's not like World of Warcraft, where if they just switched off the servers, no one would be able to play it. That's not how it works, you know. So let's put it this way. It wouldn't be the end of the world for me if Dash Studio were to go out of business. I would just change what I do. I'd finish off whatever I was doing with Dash Studio and then start to learn how to do it with Blender. And then I'd start creating Blender content for YouTube. And then I'd be one of the millions rather than one of the dozens. Actually, that's not fair. There are quite a lot of Dash Studio creators on YouTube, but they only do like 2 videos and then they stop because they realize how hard it is. I know. The world's smallest violin. Well, no, but that was the point I was getting to. Felsenstern, sorry, is that Blender don't need to do that. They could just create their own version of Dash Studio and sell their own content, and then, because as I say, as long as there's compatibility, as long as Dash Productions have the ability to sell assets that you could use in Blender, that's money that Blender isn't able to make. Like that level of corporate synergy, they would effectively become partners if they did it the way that you're suggesting. And I don't think there's enough people that use Dash Studio to warrant Blender making such a bold step when, like I say, they could just add the functionality themselves and do their own thing. I mean, they've already become a huge competitor in the market. As soon as they put sculpting functionality into the software, they're now a contender with the likes of ZBrush because the functionality is amazing. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Nvidia are a big player. You know, like, how many games do you play where you're subliminally pummeled with the Nvidia logo? If someone says to you who makes the best GPUs in the world, the chances are you're only going to say one of 2 things. One of them being Nvidia. I think being affiliated or contractually stuck to Nvidia is extremely beneficial to Dash Studio. It'd be a bit like me being contractually affiliated with Ferrari, you know? Certainly wouldn't spoil my day. Someone said to me, Matt, here's a Ferrari. You're only allowed to drive Ferraris for the next 10 years. Oh, well. with the invention of, or with the improvements in ray tracing technology, I would imagine that NVIDIA's focus is largely based on that, yeah, the real-time graphics. I've heard iRay mentioned in other circles before, but Daz is one of the major users of it, but it's just one of those things. Yeah. Yeah, innit? Here's a set of clippers, exactly the same as every other set of clippers you've ever used, but we've given it a funny name. Even though every man on the planet has only ever used a set of beard trimmers to trim their downstairs beard. I mean, if you think about it now, with the quality of the graphics you can get from a real-time rendering game, for example. Oh, I'm glad to hear it, Marcus. Welcome to our community. I'm glad you found some use out of my content. You look at the level of quality that you're seeing, the visual graphics that you're seeing now in AAA games. We're not far away from being in a position where real-time rendering is a reality. Which is crazy when you think about it. I mean, back in the 80s when Silicon Graphics were like the major player in the rendering, you know, the rendering game, doing things like Star Trek and things like that, and the computers were the size of my desk. And now you can do it with a desktop that's that big and in real time. Crazy. Oh, really? You got recommended a 3-year-old video? Well, that's fair play. Every now and again, the algorithm helps me out. Not as often as I'd like, but still. So I haven't done anything on this for about half an hour now. I should probably do something. Let's just go with... I know what I can do. I know what I can do. I'm going to bring in a new character, or an old character. For the purposes of having 2 characters in the Let's Code series, for the sake of conversations, etc. I wonder... Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, Marcus. You can... The world is your oyster, my friend. You can create whatever you want to create. Once you start getting a firm grasp of RenPy, you're literally, you can create however you want to create it. That's the power of being able to code. Might bring back an old character just for funsies. Just for poops and giggles. Let's go with this one. Might go hideously wrong. I've got to be very quick to cover up. if it all goes wrong. Some people just have their creative side of their brain operate. How you doing, Sub2? Hello, mate. So yeah, some people just don't get code, and that's absolutely fine. You know, it's going to texture shaded. No, let's go smooth shaded. What is that? I assume that's the top of her head there. Yeah, it is. That's cool. We can live with that. Right, I will go to add. I don't think any of you have seen me use this character before because it is a character from another game. Being full disclosure. It's up to you, my friend. I would recommend my videos because they're my videos. Different people learn different ways. The Dash Studio channel content tends to be more marketing material for buying stuff off their store, if I'm being brutally honest. So make of that what you will. You could learn, if you watch my Dash Studio beginner to advanced videos, you can learn pretty well anything you need to learn. And there's enough content there, but as I say, it's entirely up to you. If you watch some of my videos and you realize that you don't feel like you're learning anything, then obviously the obvious answer would be to go to another channel. I don't think it's so much a problem with the coding side of it, so much as some people's brains just don't work like that. Some people just don't see. I can sit down and I can learn a new language because I analyze. I understand how the computer works, as in how it interprets that into action. But some people are more on the artistic side of, rather than the analytical side of it, and they see more the creative stuff rather than the coding. So some people just generally don't get the code, which is cool. That's why development teams tend to be a thing. Don't get me wrong, like if I was someone who, I tend to do everything on my own, but that isn't to say that if I were to suddenly turn this into a proper business, that I would need people to do stuff for me, like the coding, or just physically cannot do it all if you want to release a game in any semblance of kind of a decent time frame. I don't actually need clothes on this model, thinking about it, because it's only a freaking headshot. Alright, let's bring her up. Nope, that's the wrong bloody control. Let's try that again. Bring her in. Oh my god. Okay, let's try bringing her forwards a smidge as well. Her hair sticking out the top of the frickin' top of the thing, so let's bring that down to about there. I suppose I could pose her a bit. Yeah, absolutely, Marcus. The thing to remember, the most important thing to remember is to learn how to do things yourself and not copy-paste code. Because that's not to say that copy-pasting code is a bad thing, except that when something goes wrong, you don't know how to fix it. It's much better just to learn how to do things the hard way. And then you never have to worry about if things go wrong, you won't know how to resolve the issue. Camera 2. Am I actually in camera 2? Yes, I am. Right, I feel like I need to pose this character. Something deep inside me Makes me want to pose it. Yeah, yeah. Unity's cool. It's a very different animal to Ren'Py, but it's cool. Ren'Py is a great language to learn to start. There's no doubt about that. I would fully agree with you on that one. Go with this one. That looks weird. Let's try that again. Hide everything. I think she needs to come down a bit more. Goodness me. Yep, still there. Look at that. Freaking ponytail. That's a big ass ponytail. Let's have a look and see how she looks in an eye. Okie dokie. She doesn't look central. She does not look central. Where the frick is the camera? Is the camera pissed or something? I'm pretty sure I didn't move it. No, I didn't. Oh, it's because of the pose she's in. She's not... Silly sausage. Right, let's go with X-Translate. Bring her head central. There we go. And render. Some of you may recognize this young lady, some of you may not. Yep. That's always going to be the stigma. Always. That's the thing, though. The comical thing about it is that some of the most iconic characters used in that kind of game are literally straight out of the box with zero morphs applied to them, because the developers of those games were incredibly freaking lazy, and yet they made bank literally just by copy pasting, using existing assets. And of course, people now, like you said, people don't want to use this model anymore or this hairstyle anymore because of whom it's associated with. I mean, I could go absolutely mental, and that might make it a little bit more familiar to some people. There we go. It's just one of those things. You've lost me there. Again, I'm running the gauntlet here by using this character in a live stream because you're just dropping the names of adult VNs left, right, and Chelsea now. Let's try and avoid that. I would like to be able to use this recording for the thousands of people who aren't currently watching. It would be a very rude live stream if I stopped responding to the chat. You could probably turn it into a D-Force hairstyle. It's just strips. If you looked at it in... Oh, that's the wrong thing. We need smooth shaded. You can see it's just strips. As long as they're welded to the skull cap, you could turn it into D-Force hair and it wouldn't be too much of a problem. It'd look weird. There's no doubt about that. It wouldn't be a perfect rendition of it, but... Oh, I see. Give her a happy smile. Nope, that's not a happy smile. That's a smutty smile. Let's try a different one. It's a little bit better. Let's try lifting her chin up slightly. Maybe that'll help. Ponytail. There are other hairstyles that are basically this exact hairstyle without the ponytail. Yeah. Yeah, sketchy as. Right, back in a sec. It's got to close a window. It started raining. Don't know what's going on with the music. It's gone all a bit, hi, welcome to Jazz Club. Nice. Happy. Let's find a sad expression. Undo bend. Ah, you bastards. You bastards. I never touch this thing. Not because I don't believe in it or anything like that. I just never do. I find it a lot easier to move one joint at a time. And give me angry. Jesus, some of these Genesis 3 expressions are horrendous. People used to pay for this crap. I paid for it years, you know, a couple of 2 or 3 years ago. But I look at it now and I'm just like, ugh. Seriously. Come on, how does it define the word angry? Oh, she actually looks mildly angry there. Let's go. Ba-da-ba-dip-ba-doo-ba-doo-boo. Gotta stop slouching. Such a bad habit. Right, I've done 3 poses for her. Let's load another character, just for funs and funsies. Let's load another character that's straight out of the box. Nope, don't want to do that. Try merging. Okay, missing a few textures there. Stop asking, please. I just have to delete that one as soon as it appears because it's shite. Oh my god. Delete that, please. Don't care for it. No idea if I've got any of the assets in here still. Oh yeah, I've deleted half of them. Trying to clean out my bloody content library. So no is the answer to that question. This is where Dash Studio takes 20 minutes to load an asset that doesn't actually exist. Look at that, that is horrendous. Right, let's just... Is this... Oh, for God's sake. Right, let's try loading this one. Go out of IRO mode into texture shaded mode. Let's give her an outfit before we move the camera, lest we accidentally show some boob geometry. Into our perspective mode. Oh my god. Forgot about that. I imagine a couple of you are chuckling to yourselves. The renderware engine. Oh, I'm a bit blurred on. I was a bit of a blur on that one. Yeah. I get myself fucking cancelled. Because I dared to show digital nipples. No, that's the wrong freaking way. I said that. You guarantee there'll be some throbber who does, though. There always is. It's like, so in the UK, we have a channel called like Babe Station. I don't know if you guys have them in other countries, but they're basically just like the old telephone wank lines, but on telly, the girls on telly. And so one of these girls was doing a thing on the screen, boobs out, having a good time, and then accidentally showed off a bit of vagina, and someone actually reported her to, or reported the channel to the TV police, for want of a better way of putting it. Which begs the question, why would you do that if you're there watching a channel for the obvious purpose of titillation? Seems bonkers to me that you would find seeing a vagina to be offensive. Oh, right, okay. Wow, that is going back a bit then. Welcome back, Marcus. What am I doing? Expressions. That's what I'm doing. Well, could be. It could very well be, to be fair. I don't understand the question, Marcus. Humans are a funny old species. I'm never been a big fan. So there's, in the UK, there's a agency called Ofcom who basically deal with all of the complaints for television, and some of the complaints that they get from people are legitimately just like, it makes you think, what is wrong with humanity? Like there are some serious problems. I do demonstrate what the side image code does in the video. At the end of the video, you see what it does. That dress looks weird. Floating around her neck like that. Porn is less addictive than social media. It's just that social media is a tool that can be used by people with a lot of money to make more money. That's not really true. AAA games can have attractive women in them. That's the problem that I think is in society at the moment, is everybody just assumes. You won't get, like, Gina Carano is a prime example of someone who, well-meaning as they may have been, just used the wrong expression. And the Holocaust is very much a no-go area. Don't use any kind of reference to the Second World War to justify your political position or to try and get some kind of sympathy. But just because certain demographics don't necessarily want you to use attractive or rather slim, body positivity is misinterpreted a lot of the time. Like, I know a girl who's a model, so I've worked with her several times. And she's a big girl. She's got a few extra pounds on her. She's probably about a size 14, I want to say, maybe a 16. She promotes body positivity in the sense that she knows that she doesn't fit society's norm for being what we would consider to be attractive, but she's confident, she's body confident. And that's what body positivity is meant to be about. It's meant to be about not denying your flaws, but being comfortable with them. However, that's often misinterpreted by the left and the right as a battle cry for... You won't get cancelled for putting a textbook attractive person in your game. You won't get cancelled for saying that obese people are unhealthy, because they are. Obesity is an illness. It is a physical condition, but it's not a reflection of a person's personality or their ability to think or feel or do things. It's like Picard. Prime example is Picard, right? I thought Picard was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. But because one of the main characters is BAME, everybody, like a load of people on the sort of the right of the spectrum, shall we say, jumped on it, calling it as overwoke. It's like, why? Just because Data's daughter has a sort of an ethnicity that's not white. The mind truly boggles. What Brie Larson did, now that when she did Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel or whatever it was, the film itself was great, but the sort of campaign of discovery was forced. That was literally woke agenda being rammed down your throat. Because literally the only straight white men in it were the bad guys, and everybody else was either gay or either female or of an ethnic. But yeah, the thing that Brie Larson did, where she went off and started attacking straight white male journalists, or I wouldn't even call it attacking, she said the wrong things to the wrong people and it kicked off. there's always going to be someone these days, because of social media, there's always going to be someone that tries to assign you or pigeonhole you into some kind of political pigeonhole. And it's up to you whether you choose to rise to it or not. The majority of people who have been cancelled for their political posturing are people who have argued the toss. Yeah, I mean, Picard did have a little bit more profanity in it than previous Star Trek season shows. But then it's the first. Well, the other shows were made for TV. So Star Trek: The Original Series, Next Generation, Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager were all made for tea time television before the watershed hour, so they couldn't put profanity in it. I'm not saying they would have done had they had the opportunity, but it's not the done thing on terrestrial television, whereas Picard is made for Amazon, and they're allowed to swear and do things on Amazon that they're not allowed to do on terrestrial television because they can age restrict it. I think there was a lot of wish fulfillment happening in Picard as well, because a lot of times when you're watching Star Trek: The Next Generation and you think Jean-Luc Picard managed to hold his temper very well, you know, he never really lost his shit, but you'd think, like, I wonder what would happen if he did, and you get to see it in Picard. You get to see exactly what happens when he loses his temper, and it's the same with when everyone in The Next Generation just accepts him for being this pompous, self-righteous guy, and you get to see in Picard, you get to see a bit more how people would really react to him if he came in and just started making demands. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like, I don't get me wrong, like, it wasn't lost on me that when an admiral actually swore at him, and he swore a couple of times as well, you were just like, oh, okay. Probably a bit more gritty than I remembered, but compared to Discovery, it was way up there. Discovery was just appalling. But then I'm finding Netflix to be a much more hostile place to be than I used to. I'm on the liberal side of the spectrum. I consider myself to be a moderate with slight liberal tendencies. But some of the shows on there, you're watching, you're just like, my God, I've never been a person motivated by someone's race or gender in terms of how I respond to them. I treat everyone equally. But that used to be enough. But nowadays, if you're not out there waving placards or holding up traffic, you're not an ally. Yeah, that was Logan was pretty amazing as well. Like, I'm not too much of a man to admit I cried like a baby at the end of that. But then I did at the end of Picard as well, to be fair. Patrick Stewart is a tremendous actor. Him and Ian McKellen, the likes of them, there's not many people like them left. Sorry, Sir Ian McKellen. Yes, she does have rather white teeth, doesn't she? I'm really looking forward to watching the new Dune movie, speaking of Patrick Stewart. I know he's not in it, but he was in the original. But the trailer, I saw it on Zendaya's Instagram page the other day. It looks amazing. It's got so many big names in it as well. And I have to say, as a 80s child, I highly recommend the new He-Man series on Netflix. It's cast really well. The most cringe part about it is watching the end of part 1 special with Kevin Smith, who's like unbelievably like cringe-worthy excited about the whole thing, but it's good. It's got Lena Headey as the voice of Eva Lynn. And she says a couple of things that you just would never have expected to hear Eva Lynn say, which makes it funny. Anyway, folks, that's just over 2 hours. I'm going to knock it on the head. Thanks ever so much for watching and joining me this morning. It's been great chatting to you as always. Did you not enjoy the one with Martin Freeman? I thought that wasn't too bad. I quite enjoyed it. Anyway, I'll speak to you all soon, guys. Have a great weekend, what's left of it, and I will see you again real soon. Yeah, so long, and thanks for all the fish. And just leaves me to say, bye-bye, mate. See you soon.